Hello and welcome to the Netreo User Group Get Together 2023. Today's session is on Netreo modernization. I'll be speaking on focus area. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Chris Sternberg. I'm a senior product manager here at Netreo. I've been here for about a year and a half. I started out my career in software application and database development. Working on mainframe applications and putting those on the web, and then moved into product management with a SaaS company doing software asset management, and then into the network monitoring realm, and am now at Netreo. My responsibilities are on the platform, on the ITIM monitoring solution that Netreo provides. We're working on both the SaaS and the on-prem platforms, and really enjoy my time here at Netreo, collaborating with all the talented people at Netreo. And as this presentation represents, working to modernize our platform, which has been around for quite a long time, especially in the technology realm. So without further ado, we'll start speaking about the focus areas for Netreo modernization over the next year. The agenda includes areas that are focused for SD-WAN, our cloud resource monitoring. So those are services or other resources hosted in AWS and Azure, as well as looking to expand to GCP. API maturity. Our ITIM integrations, so integrations for support products such as PagerDuty, OpsGenie, ServiceNow, but also looking to expand integrations into other areas such as onboarding, orchestration, automation, things along those lines. New regions for our SaaS platform. So, Netreo and most of our customers are on-prem, but we do have a SaaS offering of Netreo that is centrally hosted. Currently is only in one region of AWS, and so that's where we're looking to expand also to other regions and to provide additional support, which I'll get into further down into the presentation. An uplift for synthetics and our unreleased Path Insights feature. And then looking at reporting and flexibility for not just our existing reports, but also the ability to export for BI tools. So let's get started on SD-WAN. You may have seen we've had a few releases over the last few sprints for various vendor support. For SD-WAN, the full scope of support that we're looking to offer for vendors is VeloCloud, FlexiWAN, Viptela, Versa, Silver Peak, and Meraki. And across all those vendors, we're looking to gather a consistent collection of data and metrics from the controller. So the initial basics and the initial baseline for SD-WAN is inventory and detection from the SD-WAN controller, then metrics from edge devices, metrics from tunnels. So phasing that out, what that looks like is what we're working on initially is the inventory detection and metrics from the SD-WAN controller. The following phase, we'll look at gathering metrics and status from edge devices, including interface and tunnel metrics. And then phase 3, we're looking to provide some topology mapping. So this goes hand in hand with overall modernization of improving our topology mapping and also expanding into just relationship mapping. Our topology mapping currently is hierarchical and is used for root cause analysis and suppression of notifications from dependent devices that have gone down. And so that is one way to visualize topologies in a hierarchical model, but especially for SD-WAN as well as other environments, even just the router and server environments, knowing what devices are connected, not necessarily in an independent manner, but in a manner for troubleshooting to see, where issues may be originating that are affecting connected devices, even though that may not be a direct dependency. Then looking on for cloud resources, the vendors that we currently cover are AWS and Azure. Most of our development has been in the AWS space. That's also where our SaaS platform is hosted, as well as some other services. We are making improvements to our Azure collection of data from resources and services, and then looking to expand to GCP or the Google Cloud platform as well. And of course, all of this is none of this is really set in stone. It's driven by customer demand and opportunities as well. So if there's other cloud providers such as Oracle Cloud that you're looking for us to support, that is something we can also look at. But at the moment, we're focusing on the big three cloud vendors, and overall just looking to add resource breadth over time as we add support for the various vendors. One of the primary focus areas is to align the discovery of those devices and the organization of the metrics from those devices with the model that we currently have in Netreo, or creating new categories for those metrics as needed. Overall, the baseline that we're looking to provide is cloud service and performance metric consistency for all the cloud providers. Of course, as I mentioned, we do not currently have coverage for Google Cloud. That's something we're looking to add. And then once we have kind of that consistent coverage for the most popular services, expanding that based upon customer demand, and working in phased adoption of additional services and resources that would be hosted in the various cloud providers, as well as basing that on just overall popularity. We know some of you may not currently be in the cloud or are dabbling there, or in a hybrid model looking to move to that. So please continue to provide your input, either directly or through the ideas portal. So for our APIs, so Netreo's has fairly extensive API coverage that has been around since essentially the inception of the product. We've continued to add additional endpoints, but some of this has been in a model that is more of an outdated model. So you've got PHP endpoints. The authorization is via variables as opposed to potentially via headers or other methods that are preferable. And then also there's steps in the API that involves stepping through multiple calls, having to gather that data, and then determining what you want to do. So what we're looking to do for our API coverage overall is to modernize how we go about data retrieval and the interaction, the programmatic interaction with Netreo itself. And initially having that focus on rounding out our API coverage in areas such as device onboarding and management. I know we already have some APIs that provide for that, but there are requests to improve those APIs to make that manageability simpler and more straightforward. So that's areas we're looking at. Other ways also to access or to look up devices in Netreo. Currently that's limited to using IP address or device name, or device IDs that are internal to Netreo. We do have the ability to add attributes to devices. So for device management, looking to allow the uses of those attributes to look up devices in Netreo. And that's especially relevant for virtual environments, SD-WAN, as I mentioned before, cloud environments, where they have their own unique identifiers and that they go beyond the scope of the traditional network device where maybe the IP address is unique, but IP address may be something that's not unique or not even all that relevant for other environments. Continuing to improve on the APIs for gathering performance metrics and how we make that data available to you for export into external systems. Many of you have other platforms since you're drawing data from multiple systems. So being able to allow you to access that performance data, the device data, for export into other systems and for visualizing that in your own platforms. Of course, alarms and notifications, and this ties into integrations as well. So not just the ability to retrieve alarm data or view alarm data, in Netreo, and building out the ability to better integrate with other systems that you might have, whether it's a support system such as Opsgenie or ServiceNow or PagerDuty, or as I mentioned, getting into orchestration and automation. Then other monitoring that we do as well deals with web and email application monitoring. So providing more rounded out API coverage in those areas. And as you can see, just going down the list, also then includes audit and notification logs. So that's more along the lines of the kind of administrative reporting. So seeing what is happening in your environment, both from automated configurations as well as manual user actions, and being able to retrieve those audit and notification logs for reporting purposes, especially for administrative reporting. And then, looking to provide, the parity for reporting that is available in the tool. We're not only looking to improve the reporting and the generation of reports within Netreo itself, but then also the APIs that allow you to extract the data from Netreo itself. And finally, looking to add, API functionality for dashboarding. So that may be not just the ability to import and export dashboards that are predefined based upon templates, but potentially looking into areas of how to share dashboards as well, whether that's just as like an HTML widget and things along those lines, and that we can provide APIs for that. Overall, the goal is that we want to provide APIs for Netreo for anything that you can do in the UI. We want to be able to provide that through the API, but that is, there's a lot of work to be done in those areas. So these are some of just the areas that we're currently focused on to round up the coverage. So overall, though, for API modernization, not only looking to adhere to REST API standards, and we're looking to further adopt open API standards. We have published some of our APIs in Swagger Hub, and are continuing to use Swagger Hub as our means of API schema specification, the way that we can then communicate and discuss those schemas with development teams, with documentation, with our engineers, to get feedback on how these are actually going to work and will be implemented, and having those then fully fleshed out so that they can then be published as the schema documentation for new APIs that we develop. So some of the areas that we're looking to improve is better handling of API requests, and then of course standardizing those responses across all our APIs, and adhering to REST API standards for response codes and messages, and as well as then for just the means with which you are able to, get, post, put, and use the various REST API parameters for that, and standardizing along those lines with our requests as well. Of course, ensuring scalability with our APIs. We want to make sure that we design the APIs to scale for the intended need of those APIs, and potentially provide, various APIs depending upon what the use cases are for accessing those data, accessing that data then as well. Authentication and authorization, of course, currently, for some APIs, authentication is not required in your environment. It's something that you enable within your Netreo platform. That's something that we want to standardize as, requiring at all times. And then, as well, then the including the authentication in the headers themselves, and standardizing how we do that across the board, providing good examples for you, our customers and users, to be able to programmatically interact with Netreo. Already talked a little bit about the standardized response, but that's one area that we are lacking, making sure that we are returning the proper response codes and success and/or error messages when request succeeds or fails, and that so that can be properly interpreted, and then also is properly documented, of course, then in our Swagger Hub documentation. And one of the things that we then get along with our Swagger Hub is the API versioning. So there is the minor versioning for when enhancements that are backwards compatible are made to those APIs, but then also the major versioning is when we release brand new APIs and or completely revamp APIs, where we will have a version 1 that can still be used but is essentially deprecated, and that the preferred one would be then the next higher version up. Moving on from there, I've touched a little bit on ITIM integrations with Netreo. So, currently the main way that we provide integrations with Netreo for outgoing is via webhooks that can be configured in the Netreo platform. And that's one area that we're looking to enhance, to provide more flexibility for not just ITSM tools, but other actions that you might need to take based upon incident notifications. And so that may include that, being able to support multiple URLs for specific actions that will be taken based upon the status of a notification. Tools such as PagerDuty don't have single endpoints, so being able to support multiple endpoints for those actions and making that configurable based upon those statuses, as well as then being able to provide templates. We provide code examples currently in our documentation, but that's more difficult to configure than, say, just being able to use templates the way that we do for email message templating and things like that, providing templates for you to use and modify for various ITSM tools and other action rules that you're setting up in the Netreo platform. We do have, just currently endpoints for acking and unacking incidents in Netreo, also providing comments and users that are taking those actions and external systems. That's purely through API endpoints currently. So, and that's not always the way the best way or the preferred method that, for instance, ITSM integrations are interacting with those systems. So providing ways to integrate better with the ITSM tools. One of the current aspects we're looking at is tying into webhooks, outgoing webhooks from ITSM tools, where a payload can be sent, where we can then look at where that payload is coming from, then know how to parse that payload in order to perform the acknowledgement actions on the incidents within Netreo. So, Initially, for these integrations, our focus is on ITSM, looking to start with just those basic use cases of the various states of an incident, for opening an incident, for any changes to that incident, and then closing the incident, as well as, of course, acknowledging and unacknowledging those incidents, and adding any notes and users that go along with that. And in the future, then, we have been talking to various vendors and are researching other tools to use as third-party integration tools, to where essentially that tool becomes the only thing that Netreo that we need to integrate with. And the goal there is, that basically provides that easy button, those supported integrations from the tools within, so that Netreo can show up within those tools. Provides the necessary workflow to set up those integrations for both outgoing from Netreo and incoming to Netreo, to provide those bi-directional integrations and make that easier. So that's something to be looking for in the coming year, as we we'll start initially with internal POCs, and then anyone using our integrations and working with you to demo what we're looking at doing and seeing how that fits in. Of course, Netreo being a small shop, we want to keep it as configurable and customizable as possible, since we know that you all have different processes and different ways of doing things, and that we still retain essentially ownership of those integrations and are using the third party as a tool to build out the integrations, but are not reliant on an external tool to provide those integrations for us if they don't exist. We want to make sure that we can customize those and code our own into that. And then looking at vendor support or the types of integrations that we're focusing on, initially I mentioned ITSM, there's Opsgenie, ServiceNow, PagerDuty, other ITSM tools, whether that's Jira or if you're using Salesforce in that manner as well, that we will be focusing on. Then also tools for collaboration, such as Slack and Teams. We use Slack internally, as well as then we know our customers also are using Slack and Teams as things like that to get your notifications from Netreo and to collaborate and communicate on any incidents that are being triaged using those tools. Then, of course, also, as I mentioned, orchestration tools that are already in your environment, being able to use those for onboarding new devices, offboarding new devices, upgrades that you may be making, integrations to be able to set maintenance windows and different things along those lines. We want to make sure that we can provide programmatic interaction with Netreo to make sure that we also can reduce that alert noise. And then, of course, we have our action rules and the ability to take automated actions on incidents based upon various criteria. And so tying into automation tools that that can take some of those actions for you that you may already have in your environment, or that provide a more straightforward path or workflow to be able to execute various automations to help try and resolve incidents automatically. And then I mentioned new SaaS regions. We're currently, our SaaS Netreo platform is just in a single region. So initially, we're looking to expand regional coverage to the EU, then all other regions in the US, including US East. And then additional regions will be based on demand from our customers that are currently using the SaaS platform or wanting to move to the SaaS platform, but where we may not have the desired regional support. And so, the part of the reason for supporting additional regions is that having that resilience for the platform for backup and failover, also for the EU for the GDPR compliance, and also just for your own peace of mind of just that the data resides in the same region where your headquarters actually are. Your headquarters also may be spread over worldwide, so that multi-region support is going to provide that ability for that resilience. And then, of course, as I just mentioned, the compliance, or the data housing, scalability for our SaaS platform, as well as we continue to expand features and capabilities for on-prem and SaaS. And then web performance synthetics. So you may not know, but for our web app, our web art, and our email art in Netreo, there is synthetics built into the monitoring of those applications. And but currently the user experience for that is not great. It's difficult to set up. Requires lots of support on our end to help go through the steps to set that up. So of course, improving that usability and the user workflow recording is something we're looking to do. So for that user workflow recording, moving more towards a Selenium like experience for our synthetic checks. And then also improving our SSL cert checks and adding those into our web application support in Netreo as well. And generally, just expanding upon those capabilities and making sure we showcase those capabilities that are available in Netreo, but making sure that they're actually usable by all our customers and don't require too much handholding to get those set up. And then finally, looking to provide a good baseline or kind of line in the sand between the reporting that we provide in Netreo, but then also making sure that we provide ways to get at the data from Netreo to use in your own reporting tools. So Netreo is never going to be a full-fledged reporting or BI tool to slice and dice the data however which you want and creating custom reports any which way. There's a limit to that. We are first and foremost a monitoring tool and not a reporting tool. So the focus on our reports is to maintain and improve the consistency for our current reporting. Of course, providing additional report functionality and features where needed. But then also providing the ability to export that data to BI tools. There are ways of currently getting at that data or getting at some of the report data to export into BI tools, but continue to expand upon that. So what we're looking to do then for enhancing the BI export is to, for one, making sure that the current ability to export is clearly documented, making sure that we have secure egress capabilities so that that data is secure in transit as you export it from Netreo into your system of choice. The overall usability, which I spoke about, for not just the reporting in Netreo, but also then the exporting of that data. And then, as I mentioned, just that clear delineation of, this is the reporting that we provide within Netreo. Of course, we're going to continue to improve that reporting and add additional functionality, but having a clear distinction that we can articulate between, this is the reporting that is available in Netreo. If you want more extensive reporting or be able to slice and dice it, you really need to export that to a BI tool, and that we can then provide the means to do so. Thanks so much for your time. Please reach out to me. Again, Chris Sternberg, connect with me on the platform and feel free to reach out to me through your solutions consultants and or here at the Netreo conference. Thank you so much for your time.